And strong passwords are key. We were talking about this morning. We have made it very, very difficult to remember your passwords and yet very easy to crack. So this is an estimate according to Verizon's 2021 data breach investigation report. 12 characters, 25 seconds if it's numbers only. If it's lowercase letters, 3 weeks. 13 characters, 4 minutes in a year. 14 characters, suddenly if it's lowercase only, you're at 51 years. So we tend to recommend 12 characters if it's random. So if you're using a password wallet to generate it, or a minimum of 16 characters if it's something that is easier to remember.
Yeah, and those random, pseudo-randomly generated passwords usually include different character sets. You usually have a much larger alphabet you're dealing with, including symbols. So you have a much larger alphabet, so these numbers are way bigger for pseudo-randomly generated ones. When you're talking about numbers and only lowercase, no one would ever recommend that, especially if you have a good password policy and it's enforced via, for example, Active Directory. You probably can't even do this. But this is food for thought in terms of how increasing the complexity increases the time to crack.
And for what it's worth, cracking a Wi-Fi password these days, they're saying that it takes 300 years. Hashcat, which I've played with more than a little bit, didn't take that long to crack my password, and it's not a bad one. It uses upper and lower case, it uses numbers and letters, it's not words. Doesn't matter, it still didn't take that long to crack. Two-factor authentication, again, helps with a password and passcode. And then check if you've been pwned. HaveIBeenPwned.com is a wonderful resource because they keep track of all of the big break-ins. Password constructions, don't. Avoid consecutive keyboard combinations. QWERTY, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, picture 1. Avoid names and birthdays. I often tell the story that if I was going in somewhere as a white hat hacker and I saw a dog, a picture of a dog on someone's desk, which, you know, a lot of us have, and I think it's great. Oh, he's so cute. What's his name? And that was their password way too often. Same rules apply to security questions because if you answer them, you can change the password. I never use real answers to security questions. Where were you born? That sort of thing. Never use real answers.
And we were discussing yesterday also how the practice of a lot of agencies is to have passwords change. Could be monthly, it could be quarterly, and you know you've got to change password mandatory, and that's not really the school of thought right now, because we do things that are just too familiar, like you know, I might call it Green Tree 1 and then I'd call it Green Tree 2. So having a password that you continually have, but you've made it
slight alterations to it. Yeah. So NIST's most recent recommendations, I believe, is of 2021, so it's pretty recent, is to no longer have a policy where you rotate through passwords, because they've just noticed that it enforces bad practices with generating the passwords themselves. To Sue's point, right. People too often will just keep most of the password and recycle one digit and say, okay, I'm safe. And it's human nature, to be honest. I mean, how are we going to remember all of these passwords every single quarter, right? So that's why NIST decided, hey, you know, this isn't going anywhere good. Let's stop this practice.